forget that night. The pizzeria where I worked was about to close, and I was getting ready to go home when the phone rang. I was working the counter alone that night, so it was my job to answer the calls. I picked up, but there was total silence. I hung up. A minute later, the phone rang again. I answered once more, and again there was that same silence on the line. I was about to hang up when I heard something. A weak, cold voice of an old woman on the other end. She said she wanted to order a medium pizza. I stayed polite over the phone, but inside I was screaming. I just wanted to go home and end my shift. It had been such a long day. I yelled to my boss that someone was ordering a delivery. He told me that I had to take it. At first, I got annoyed, but then I remembered. It was another tip, and older people usually tipped better, so I told myself it was fine. I wrote down the address and told her I'd be there soon, but she had already hung up. I thought it was rude, but I ignored it and told the cook I needed a medium pizza. My boss said I could go home after the delivery since we were closing soon. A little before 10 p.m., I got into my car and entered the address into the GPS. The house was about 10 miles away. The GPS took me to a quiet part of town. When I arrived, I saw a small one-story house in a calm, empty neighborhood. I grabbed the pizza and walked to the door. I rang the bell, but no lights were on. I hoped I hadn't gotten the wrong address. I rang the bell again, no answer. I was about to leave when I turned my head and saw someone standing at the window. Honestly, I got scared and took a step back, but eventually, I walked closer to the window to see who it was. It was clearly an old woman, probably in her late 80s. She was staring straight at me with a blank expression. I shouted through the glass, "Ma'am, I have your pizza." She didn't react, so I shouted louder. That's when I saw it, a wide smile slowly spreading across her face. I remember it wasn't a pleasant smile, it was the kind that makes your skin crawl, even years later. I decided I'd had enough and went back to my car. I tossed the pizza on the passenger seat. I texted my boss quickly to tell him what happened, then started the car, ready to leave. I glanced to my right for one last look, and there she was, standing right outside my window, staring at me just like before. I hit the gas and drove off without looking back. My boss never made me do a night delivery again. This happened 4 years ago when I was still in high school. I was told to do my last delivery of the night. I drove my old 1999 Camry, perfect for deliveries, and entered the address into my phone's GPS. It was getting dark, probably around 7 p.m. After about 15 minutes of driving down forested dirt roads, I arrived. The place was an old wooden cottage sitting alone in the middle of nowhere. The grass was knee-high and the house looked abandoned. Still, I grabbed the pizza and knocked. Within seconds, I heard footsteps approach from inside. They stopped right at the door. I felt uneasy. "It's the pizza guy," I called out. A harsh, low voice said, "Bring it out back." Something felt wrong. I hesitated and asked, "Are you sure, sir?" No answer. The footsteps didn't move. They were still right there. I didn't want to upset my boss by coming back with an undelivered pizza, so I reluctantly walked around the house through the tall grass. There was a small patio with a table and 4 chairs. In one of the chairs, facing away from me, was someone sitting completely still. "Excuse me," I said. No reaction. I said it louder. Then, behind me, a voice whispered, "Over here." I turned and saw a man peeking from the corner of the house, smiling like a maniac. "Come here," he said. "I want to show you something." I bolted. I ran around the house, jumped in my car, and sped away, still holding the pizza. When I pulled over and called the police, they checked the address. That house had been abandoned for years. I quit my delivery job a few days later. To this day, I still wonder who or what was sitting in that patio chair. I was doing late-night deliveries during one of my shifts. I lived in the Poconos, very rural, surrounded by trees. That night was dark and foggy as I drove a shortcut I'd taken many times before. Suddenly, someone jumped out of the bushes and onto the road. I slammed the brakes, but it was too late. There was a sickening thump. A man in a black hoodie lay motionless by my tire. Panicking, I got out to check him. He wasn't moving. Before I could react, I heard a scream for help coming from the woods to my left. I froze. Someone else was out there. I thought I could help, so I left the man and walked into the woods, calling out, "Where are you?" Silence, then a crunch of leaves. I looked up and saw a shadowed figure hiding behind a tree. I ran. I sprinted back to my car, heart pounding, but when I got there, the man I hit was gone. I jumped in, locked the doors, and drove away. When I arrived at my next delivery, a woman answered the door. She paid, then looked past me and asked, "They let you guys have delivery partners now?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" she said. "The man sitting in your back seat." My blood ran cold. I turned around and saw a figure sitting behind me. I grabbed her phone and called the police. By the time they